Hi, and welcome to Univ's Meet Our Students live stream. My name is Hannah, and I'm the Schools Liaison and Access Officer here at University College, or Univ, as we are known for short. In just a second, I'm going to hand over to our students to come and introduce themselves, and you can then ask any questions you have about student life, student experience at Univ, any questions that you might have, you can enter them on our Open Day page via the Q&A Slido window. I thought I'd start by saying that, as I've kind of already touched on, in this Q&A, we're really going to focus on those questions about student life and experience of University College. We'll also look at some questions about applying to University College or choosing a college more generally, but we're going to maybe steer away from more technical aspects of the admissions process, as there are other opportunities to ask questions about those throughout the day. So to start with, Mamouna, please could you introduce yourself and your subject and your favourite thing about Univ?
Hi, I'm Mamouna. I'm a third year experimental psychologist at Univ. I've just finished my final year, and my favourite thing about Univ is a bit cheesy, but it's just the way that it feels like home, and everyone's, the staff, the students, they feel like one big family. So yeah.
Perfect. And Chloe?
Hi, I'm Chloe. I'm a first year history and politics student. My favourite thing about Univ is how centrally located it is for your first and third years, how accessible Oxford is to it, how it just feels like its own little bubble within Oxford. Like Mamouna said, definitely very family based, very friendly. And yeah, it's definitely also when I refer to it as home, my parents are like, no, home is with us. I'm like, I'm sorry, no, home is where Univ is.
Perfect, thank you. And Sam?
Hi, I'm Sam, and I'm a first year engineering student here at Univ. I think there's a lot of different things I like about Univ, but one of my favourite things is the College Chapel Choir, which I sing with. We do some fantastic music, and also there's a lot of free pizza involved.
Perfect, thank you. So we've had a question about work-life balance at Univ and being a student at Oxford. So yeah, what is your work-life balance like, and sort of what do you do in your spare time? Maybe I'll start with Sam, if that's okay.
Yeah, so in terms of what I do in my spare time, I'm a student who chooses to take on quite a lot. So at the minute, I'm the incoming JCR president for Univ. JCR is a junior common room. It's a very important part of student democracy at Univ and at various other Oxford colleges too. I also, as I mentioned earlier, sing with the chapel choir, and also I produce YouTube videos when I can find the time. So I know some other students prefer to do more relaxing things in their free time, but equally there is space if you do want to take on a reasonable amount of extracurriculars. There is space and opportunity for you to do that. In terms of work-life balance, I'd say that the way I tend to manage things is by mainly starting my work fairly early on in the day and trying to give a designated cut-off time in the evening so I can either relax or socialize or do something extracurricular. And setting up the boundaries and things like that is very much good practice in helping you have a good student experience here at Oxford.
Thank you, Sam. Maybe Mamouna, I might actually ask you as a sort of third year student to reflect on how you found it, the work-life balance at Oxford.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually found it, going into my first year, I was kind of overwhelmed by all of the opportunities available, because there really is something for everybody to do extracurricular wise. So I kind of backed away and did nothing for a while, but then I realized that I can't just be here for work, and that's not healthy, and that there is a real need to be able to give yourself some downtime doing something that you really like. So in my second year, I ended up running the open mics at Univ with my friend Guy, and those ran a couple of times a term, and they really sort of provided me with a creative outlet. I also am part of the creative writing scene at Univ. There is a magazine that we that we publish on a sort of biannual basis called Roots and Their Branches, and I published some of my poetry in there. So kind of just being able to give time to things that I really love doing, that improves my work as well. So it's really important to have that balance.
Thank you. That's a really great insight into the real variety of opportunities I think there are at Univ and at Oxford. We've had another question, which I might come to Chloe with, which was asking kind of what makes Univ special, or maybe what makes Univ different to other colleges from your perspective.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, because I can like talk about Univ for ages. So looking around on the open day, I was like struck by how similar Oxford colleges are in general. So like if you end up like applying to another college and getting pulled to Univ, which is like the system where like they try and make sure the like same amount of students per course are in different colleges, just to make sure like you get a wide variety of subjects. Like I would just want to stress, like no matter where you go, you will be happy. But Univ is definitely the best one, and you should apply here, because like I don't see why you wouldn't really. We have, for a start, we have an amazing brunch. Like let me just like tell you all about brunch. It runs on Saturdays and Sundays. It's the variety of food is amazing, and it's just like such a nice social time like with your friends. I was also really attracted to Univ because of like the accommodation. So like obviously because of COVID this year, kitchen access has not been available to everyone in order to like keep social distancing and keep to households. But in a normal year, it is one of the few colleges in Oxford where like you would have access to a kitchen. You would be able to just go to like a kitchen that's like not necessarily near yours and still cook in it, which I thought was really important. It also has like so many different like activities and clubs. Like obviously this is not specific to Univ, but like I'm part of like the rowing society club actually, and like I wrote a play for Univ and like acted in it. It's called the Univ Review, and like just when I saw it, it was just so friendly and welcoming. And I think it's got that perfect balance of like it's modern in some areas, but it's also got like the old like traditional Oxford architecture and aesthetic. And I'm a history student, so I like old things. And like so that was like another thing that really brought me to Univ. And just like I said earlier, like I'm an international student, and having a home away from home was really important, especially because like I can't just go home, especially because of COVID at the moment. And just like being so happy where I am was so important to me, and it just had that atmosphere when I looked around it, and it still does.
Perfect, thank you. I suppose as we're kind of touching on other colleges, a question came in asking about can you have friends from other colleges come and visit you? And I suppose I'll widen it out to say opportunities to meet people from outside of your college. Maybe I'll come to Mamuna to begin with. As a third year, can maybe give a bit more experience about pre-COVID times as well. But then I'll also maybe come to Sam.
Yeah, so there are so many opportunities for you to meet people outside of college. I mean, your people on your course, for one, you'll attend lectures with your group of Univ students who do the same course, but you'll be in the lecture theatre with all of the people who do that course. So you'll get an opportunity to meet them. Also extracurricular things is particularly sport. I know that a lot of people meet each other through sport, doing the uni-wide societies. I have lots of friends from different colleges, and but one thing definitely that I should point out is that a great thing about Univ is that it's not too big and it's not too small. So you kind of know everyone, but there's enough space for each individual to have like a group of friends and for them to mix. And so often you find at Univ that you're friends with so many people in college anyway, that it's you don't find yourself needing to make friends with people outside of college. But if you want to, then that's very possible. So yeah, it's good to have friends outside of college as well. I think sometimes if you need to get out, and if you need to talk to someone that's not in the Univ atmosphere, then yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so I think from my perspective, as an incoming first year this year, It has been, I think, harder to meet people at other colleges this particular year regarding social distancing requirements, particularly in our first term where sort of across the UK cases were relatively high. People were, acting with precaution when it came to socializing. However, this term, I've got to a few more kind of intercollegiate events, which would usually be much more of a normal thing. For example, I've done things with the other first year engineers who are obviously studying the same subject, but not necessarily at the same college. In general, societies as well are a very good way of meeting people from other colleges and kind of expanding your social circle. Yeah.
Well, thank you. There's also another question about sort of eating in college and asking about, how expensive is it to eating in college? And I know you touched on the kitchens a bit earlier, Chloe, so maybe if you'd be happy to answer that one.
Yeah, so like I said, there's so many opportunities at uni, which is something that like really attracted me there. So we have like a really nice modern building called Good Heart, which has like really fancy, gorgeous kitchens with really like modern accommodation and everything. So they're like really nice to cook in, but also like you just have like they're just kind of like dotted around buildings, and you can just like go to any kitchen and literally like turn up with your utensils, do the cooking, eat, clean. Like lots of students choose to bulk cook as well, and then like cut like their food up into Tupperwares throughout the week. That like saves money as well. So that's like the kitchen option. You also have like the eating in hall. Like they provide 3 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Lunch is around like £4.30, and you get like a good consistent meal with like you've got like your main and your veg. And there are vegan options, there are veggie options, there are meat options. I am not sure about, I'm guessing they have halal, but I'm not sure. I think Mamuna, you probably know better than me from like general like having lived there longer. And then brunch is on the weekend. Like I said, brunch, go to brunch. Even if like you don't end up choosing Univ, find a Univ friend and come to Univ brunch. And that's got like veggie options, and then like a mixture of like continental and English breakfast, so you can go for both. And that's really, really, really reasonably priced. Like I get away with, I think it's like £2.50, and I have like a full English breakfast as well as like a croissant and a waffle. So that's really good. And then like Oxford in general has so many nice places to eat out as well. So there are like some like really like posh, fancy, like big restaurants which a lot of people go to on like a really, really special occasion. And then like you've got like your typical kebab van, which is very nice. The other thing I forgot to mention is we have formal meals. In a non-COVID year, you'd have 3 a week. You can choose to opt in, opt out. Like it's based on when you want to go. I think they're priced around £9 something, and they are a 3-course meal. And you just turn up with your like nice outfit and your sub flask, which is the outfit that you would wear on matriculation. So like if you've ever thought that like the little black like clothing thingies, that's what a sub flask is. So you would wear that for your formal meal. And it's just like lots of people like go for like birthdays or celebrate a big occasion, and it's just like really nice, and the food is lush, and it's really, really cheap, because like £9 for a 3-course meal is actually pretty decent. So I think that's like all the eating options. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I can just add to that quickly. Yes, there is always a halal friendly option, and particularly in formal hall, there's, when you sign up to attend one, you put down that your dietary requirements, and the buttery, which is what we call the hall hall food, they will organize a special meal for you. So they're very, very good at accommodating people's requirements. I know of someone who has a very severe nut allergy, and they're very good with sorting her out, with sorting her meals out, making sure she's safe. So it really is a lovely place to eat.
Fantastic, thank you to you both. We've had sort of a couple of questions that I'm going to combine here around what's the social life like at Univ, and also kind of where can you hang out in college, what kind of spaces are there. So I might come to Sam about that, if that's okay. So yeah, social life at college and spaces to hang out around Univ.
Okay, so in terms of spaces to hang out around Univ, one of the main ones, which is current has not been open for the last year, but fingers crossed for next year it will be open, is the JCR. So the JCR is basically a dedicated space we have for all the undergraduate members of the college. We have sofas, and it's where meetings would usually take place. I think we also have a TV, and I think we have a Wii as well. Yeah, Mamoon is nodding, so I think I'm right on that. So that's one of the primary spaces. Another one that has been a recent addition is the marquees. That's been very useful in allowing us to run some slightly larger events. For example, open mic nights, which again, Mamuna is quite heavily involved in, have been taking place in the marquees within the last couple of weeks. Often in normal times, kitchens are kind of a common place for people just to hang out a little bit between like study sessions and get a meal there, have a break with their friends. And yeah, I think if anyone else wants to add any other places in college that they've been socializing, feel free.
There are just so many outdoor spaces in Univ. You don't expect there to be when you come into this in through the main entrance, and there's there are these very old majestic buildings, but there are pockets of space everywhere, and people tend to just accumulate in the gardens, in the marquees, like Sam said. It's much bigger than you expect it to be when you walk in.
Yeah, and also I'd just like to add to that in the summer, as a general rule, we can go on the lawn. So I live in one of the quads, and after my exams were finished, I definitely spent at least a decent few hours just kind of sunbathing on the lawns.
Thank you. There's a question that maybe follows on quite nicely from that about kind of the location of Univ. I don't know, what kind of are you near? Like, was the location something you particularly enjoyed about Univ? And maybe I'll come to sort of Chloe with that one initially. So, yeah, what do you think about the location of Univ? And is it easy to get to like lectures and things like that?
So Univ is so ideally located. It is literally smack bang in the middle of Oxford. We are literally like a 5-minute walk away from the high street, where you have like Tesco's, Sainsbury's, so like your supermarket shop won't even be that heavy to like bring back with you, which is really, really nice. You're like really close to the West Gate as well, so like if you want to go for like a nice meal, or go like shopping, or like if there's a bop, which is a big old party, and there's like a theme and you need to like dash to Primark to get like something to wear, it's like so close and so ideally located. In terms of like access to like uni facilities, one of the most amazing things about Univ, and I'm a historian, so like this is a little bit probably more favorable to me, is the Radcliffe camera. Now, like the Radcliffe camera is literally like the typical Oxford photo. It's like the really round building, and it's a library. It's the history library. So like that's literally like a 2-minute walk away. It's right opposite the street, and then you've got all the faculties are within a 20-minute walk from Univ. So like I know like the social sciences one, I've been like a couple of times. It's like a 15-minute walk towards the right, and then like the history one is a 15-minute walk towards the left. I don't know my northeast southwest. And then like in second year you live in Staverton, which is it is a little bit further away. It's in a place in Oxford called Summertown, which is about like a half an hour walk away from college. Most people have bikes, just because like you can get a bike really cheaply in Oxford off like Gumtree or something like that. And what's really nice about Staverton is like every second year, kind of most second years end up living together there. And like it's a really nice and like sense of community, and it's just a lovely place to live. And then in third year you would be back in college, so back in this like centrally located place, which is ideal for third years because you're like closer to all the facilities. But like all around, like I really like the idea of living out. Well, you don't live out because like college provides everything for you, so you don't have to worry about like finding a house, like paying like rent, like paying your like bills, or like finding Wi-Fi, all that stuff that like other unis tend to have to worry about. But you do live a bit further away, so like it's a nice idea to like get away from like the hustle and bustle of town centre sometimes. and yeah, but yeah, in general, even if like this like idea of like a half-hour distance like worries you a little bit, you have to bear in mind you will be in faculty for most of the day for your lectures and like studying in the libraries. So it really is like a place to sleep, and the like accommodation is so lovely. So I think like Univ is like the perfect location.
I'd also just like to quickly add on to that if you're doing a 4-year degree, generally speaking, how it is main site first year, second year at Stavs or potentially at one of the other annexes, but vast majority at Stavs. Third year back on main site. Third years are mostly finalists, so they get kind of the top pick in the ballot. And then if you're on a 4-year course, for example, engineering is an integrated master's, generally speaking, you will be in, if you do not choose to live out, then you will be again in a different annex. So probably not Stavs with the second years, but Univ has some various other accommodation. For example, Harberton Mead, which is in the direction of Headington.
Perfect, thank you, Sam. Yeah, I think it's a really good summation of that. Yeah, Univ, we're lucky that we generally aim to offer accommodation for all sort of 3 or 4 years of a student's degree and time at Oxford. You sort of touched a bit on the ballot there, and I was wondering, I don't know if Sam or Mamuna, would one of you be happy to talk a little bit about how the ballot works and how accommodation is selected? So maybe I'll go to Mamuna first. And
yeah, sure. So what happens is in first year, you're randomly allocated a room and you can specify special requirements beforehand, but you'll live in your first year room, and towards the sort of midpoint of first year, you will be entered onto the ballot, which is a fair way of allocating who gets to decide which room they want in second year. And when you're in first year, you can ballot individually or you can ballot with a group if you want to live with that group in Staverton Road. It's so depending on where you come in the ballot, which is done all randomly, you get pick of which room you want. So if I came sort of 8th in the ballot, that means I'm the 8th person that gets to decide where I want my room. So higher up the ballot, better choices you have. But again, you'll always end up with a good room. Univ has such an amazing range of accommodation, and you'll never really have to worry about accommodation. It happens all over again for third year, but instead you ballot individually for third year because you're back on main site, that's how it works.
Perfect, thank you, Amuna. There was a question about kind of size of rooms, so I'll maybe let each of you talk a little bit about what your room was like. But so just to quickly summarize that, yeah, at Univ, we don't really have any rooms that are like shared rooms in the sense of you don't share your bedroom itself with another student, but you might have then a shared space outside of your bedroom where your desks are, which you might share with another student. And there was also a question about en-suites. I know we do have some en-suite rooms, but the majority of ours are shared bathrooms. But I'll let maybe the students explain a little bit about their experience. Maybe go Chloe and then Sam.
Probably the wrong person to ask because I had an en-suite in my first year, which is like not very common. I just got very, very lucky with my random allocation. But I mean, my en-suite was very lovely. I very much enjoyed it. However, I wasn't opposed to a shared bathroom or shared toilet. Everybody who's like had them, I've heard like nothing bad about them, nothing about queues and nothing like that. Like there are lots and lots of facilities for like a number of people. So yeah, but I'll let the others talk about it because I don't think it's fair for me to talk about it.
So in terms of my room, I have been frankly very lucky this year. I'm just going to quickly point the camera off in that direction to demonstrate how big this room is. It is like massive. It is, the room I have is generally a room that one of the choral scholar candidates gets, generally because these rooms have a piano. I've been on a staircase where I'm sharing a bathroom with one other person. So really, you don't ever run into issues with that. I can't even think of like one instance where I've needed to like use the shower or something and it's already been in use. Yeah, in general, I've had a very good experience with this room.
I think I can probably add to that a little bit. Having 3 years in college, because I didn't actually live on Staverton Road in my second year, and all three times I've been sharing bathroom facilities with people. In my first year, it was with 5 or 6 people. In my second year, it was more than that, but still no issues. And right now in third year, I was sharing a bathroom with 1 other person. So it really is, you're never going to be worried. Again, going back to room size, whilst there is a big sort of range of rooms and, you know, they vary in size a little bit, they all have the main things that you need. So they have the bed, the desk, the wardrobe. They all have internet access, all have shared access to facilities. So wherever you live, you're not going to be wanting for anything. And, you know, sort of there are some areas in college which are closer to kitchens, some which are further away, but still, as Chloe mentioned earlier, you can go and use it in sort of post-COVID times. Hopefully you can go and use kitchens wherever you want. The main place where there are ensuite rooms is the Good Heart building, is the modern building, and it's mostly third years and finalists in that building, but there are a few first years who get a bit lucky every year and get in there. But again, wherever you end up, you're going to be happy.
It's also worth me pointing out that if you are a first year with disability requirements, for example, then generally speaking, you will be accommodated in the Good Heart buildings, and you will most likely have access to an ensuite.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point to raise, Sam, that we do have a number of bedrooms with varying levels of kind of accessibility arrangements. So if that's something that be relevant to you or you'd like to know more about, please do get in touch with us. And we've got a really fantastic student disability and welfare support team who can advise you on, you know, what we have available and accommodations that could be made if you joined us at Univ. There's also a question I thought I might take quickly, which was about having an opportunity to come and visit Univ. Obviously, at the moment, we're having to do open days such as this virtually online, and whilst they're still wonderful, we really do miss having the opportunity to welcome you to college and getting to know you sort of better in person. At the moment, whilst restrictions remain in place, sadly, we can't welcome anybody to college, but we are sort of keeping an eye on the situation, and as and when restrictions change, we will be looking at, you know, potentially being able to welcome people to college physically in person. Under normal circumstances, we usually say that if you're interested in applying to Univ, you can just come to the lodge, which is sort of our front entrance, and let them know that you'd like to have a look around, and we can usually accommodate that. At the moment, that is put on pause, but we will sort of be updating the website and sort of trying to keep you all in the loop about when we can welcome people in person again, which I hope is really soon. If you are an offer holder, you will hopefully have heard from our admissions manager, Nelly, to discuss arrangements about whether there's an opportunity for you to come and see Univ in person before the autumn. Sorry, there was another question about, sort of following on from what you were talking about, Sam, about having kind of a piano in your room. The question's about, like, could a pianist request a room with a piano? I'd have to check that to be exactly sure how that works, but I know there's lots of music facilities around Univ. Is that something you'd be happy to go and talk a little bit about? Yes. Access to pianos?
Access to music facilities. So at Univ, we have a group of music rooms in the building that houses our new library on Merton Street. So, for example, we have at least one room with a grand piano in there. I think we have at least a couple of other spaces. In terms of student rooms that have pianos in them as a default, generally speaking, organ and choral scholars have priority to those. I think you could probably put a request into college about this and see what they could do. However, generally speaking, I think they do get taken quite fast. However, equally, I know that one of my friends who is a pianist and just lives in normal college accommodation on site, they just brought their keyboard and with a stand, and they've got a lot of use out of that. And I think that is a fairly common kind of arrangement, that people will take a portable keyboard if they want to have access to one in term time.
I can just add to that very quickly. Additionally to the music rooms that we have in Merton Street, there is also a grand piano in the hall, where I've often heard people practicing. There's also obviously in the chapel, you've got the organ, and sorry, I've just lost what I was going to say. I do know of a few people who, so our music department had some extra pianos that are sort of dotted around. People sort of submitted an application, emailed our head of music to ask if they can get the pianos, and it was sort of randomly done. So there are a couple of ones floating around, but again, I would email and ask, because as Sam said, they do go pretty fast.
Thank you. I know we touched on earlier, like having kind of friends from across the university come to visit, but we've had a question about having sort of friends and family come and visit college or visit you around Oxford. So Mamuna, again, if it's okay, kind of what's your experience of having friends and family come to visit?
Well, I mean, I've had over the years, I've had plenty of friends from other unis from home come up and visit and stay with me for a night or two, and college are always very accommodating about that, and that was obviously in pre-COVID times. So I would check again what the system is when and if you start this year. With family, it's always lovely to, with formal hall, you can invite guests. You can invite, I think it's, I may be wrong here, but it's definitely, you can invite 2 or more. I think it's 2 to 5. I may be wrong, but you can invite guests for formal hall, and I know of so many people who invite parents, invite family members who come into town just for the night, and dress up, have a lovely sit-down meal, and it's just a lovely opportunity to have family and friends in the great surroundings, which is our hall. It feels very, very nice. So yeah, you can always bring friends and family into college. Hopefully that will be more commonplace after this summer. Things hopefully start getting better, but it is lovely to show. I have shown so many people around Univ because I just love it so much.
Thank you. You've had a question about kind of sports and clubs at Univ. So maybe I'll come to you, Chloe, if that's okay. But so the question was specifically about what are the big sports at Univ, but sort of feel free to riff on that question a little bit. And there's also a question, and I don't personally know the rowing chant, so I hope this is okay, but there is a question about the intellectual intricacies of the Univ rowing chant. I hope that is appropriate for the live stream.
Okay, so I am a rower. So I guess you've come to the right present. I've never heard of the rowing chant. Probably because I haven't been rowing for very long. I started this term. We do have like Univ kind of call that everybody knows about, because one of like our coxes, who, if you don't know about rowing, is one of the people who like sits at the front, and he basically like, or she directs the boat and kind of like tells you to like hurry up or slow down, and then like he'll always like stand on the bankside and start like Univ, so like now everybody does it. But yeah, so I do quite a lot of sport. So like I said, I started rowing literally for the first time ever this term, about, well, at the start of the term, so like 10 weeks ago now. And like I managed to get into the second boat on Univ, sort of women's side, and then we kind of like trained 4 times a week. Some were like early morning sessions, like Sunday mornings at 6 a.m. were a little bit rough. But actually, to be fair, once you're up and running, like you actually are like, for me at least, like I was awake for the rest of the day, like a lot more awake than I would be if I like lied in. So that was nice. And then we ended up like competing in like tournaments, and then we did like the big like uni-wide one, which is called so this year they called it Summer Torpids, but usually they would call it like Torpids and Summer Eights, which are two very different events. But because of COVID, we only like had the capacity to do one event, and then like we went on to like win blades, which is basically like by like overtaking like every boat a day. But like all of us had never rowed before, which just shows like how accessible rowing is. Honestly, I need to get back to you on the chant because I've never heard of it, so now I'm really intrigued myself. In terms of like other societies, so like just because like rowing seems like the big sport does not mean it is the only sport, and actually a lot of people don't participate in it. There's also rugby. I've been to one touch rugby session, and it was so good, and I really regret not doing it beforehand. There's also hockey team, netball, cricket, rounders, football, and that's just on college level. And then like you can like do it uni wide as well. So like, and I very much found that it was a really nice way to do my work-life balance, through sports. And like I'd even like Univ actually pay for a subscription to the IFLI gym for you. I think don't know if they'll continue doing that, because we do have a gym at Univ. It's just being renovated at the moment, so there was no gym access this year, but they did pay for a membership for every single student this year to go to the IFLI gym court. So like sports is very much available, very much so fun. Please join. Yeah, that's what I have to say. It's like my happy place. It's the thing that like I would do when I got a little bit stressed.
Perfect, thank you. We've had another question about accommodation again, this time asking about sort of changing rooms. I think we've touched on the fact that you do change rooms every year, but I wondered if perhaps I come to Sam about the kind of process we have at Oxford for term time living in, and what you do during holidays, vacations, that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. So in Oxford, we tend to operate a slightly different system than quite a few other universities. Generally, what most people in Oxford are on is called, quote, the short contract. So basically, you are living, your accommodation is paid for all of term time. And if you want to request extra residence, you can do so via the intranet at Univ. Alternatively, we do have a long contract, but that is mostly more for postgraduate students, and also I think international students who would not be able to travel home in the gaps between terms. So the benefit of a short contract is, in the long run, it does save you quite a bit of money on rent. So the way Oxford tends to work is 8 weeks of academic teaching time, with maybe a week or so at the start where you might have perhaps an exam before term gets started. Those are called collections. So if you hear more about those, don't worry about them. And then about a 6-week gap, 5-week gap in between for the vacations. So during the vacations, generally speaking, you pretty much move out of your room. College, I believe, provides subsidized storage space, and you will be able to carry on storing some things in your room. So for example, this year, admittedly, slightly unusual circumstances, but from December, when our first term finished, to the start of our third term, which was early April, I had pretty much my entire pin board was still up. I had quite a bit of my stuff still in my room. So in a nutshell, shorter accommodation contracts with longer breaks in between, and you will be able to fairly easily store stuff on site if you need to.
I just want to add about the storage, because I've actually used it. So if you're an international student, you would get it for free. You would store everything on site, and the college basically looks after it for you, which is why it's free, because they're not like giving it out to an external contractor. I think you might need to pay for the boxes. So like if you have like spare cardboard boxes at home and you're considering leaving some stuff, like they are £3 a box, so they're like very much like affordable. But you know, if you want to save that money, then that's always an option. I used the domestic one. I had to pay £4.44 per box for 10 weeks. And when I say that that is cheap, because I looked at like external contracts of like storing my stuff, and like that is really, really, really expensive actually for 10 weeks. So £4.44, like that's less than, like, I'm not very good at maths, so I'm gonna go with like that's less than 50p a week to store big boxes. So and like the college aren't fussy about it at all. You literally turn up to the lodge, you're like, hi, I'd like storage. They're like, cool, have a box, and that's it. That's as simple as it is. So really, really recommend, because my parents would have been really mad at me if I'd taken everything home and just clogged up the house with stuff that I probably wouldn't have even opened throughout the entire vacation period.
Perfect, thank you. As we're sort of heading towards the end of this sort of live stream Q&A, I thought it might be quite nice to wrap up by saying, or by asking, I should say, what advice would you give to current applicants about what kind of considerations they should be thinking about when picking a college, if they choose to pick a college? Because I probably should underline that you can make an open application where you don't specify a college on your application. But yeah, so what would you encourage prospective applicants to think about when picking a college? Or if you'd like to make a pitch for why they should pick Univ, feel free to do that as well. So I'll maybe go like we did at the start. I'll go Mamuna, Chloe, and then Sam.
Well, I think we've touched on all of the things that I would actually tell you to consider. How much accommodation the college offers. So whether it offers accommodation for most or all years of your course, because not all colleges do. The location, are you close enough to your faculty, close enough to the facilities that you want to be close to, like sports, like supermarkets, train station? Are you sort of in an atmosphere that feels maybe not too small, not to sort of get used to all the same people, or do you actually thrive on a place which is, you know, absolutely huge? You like your big green spaces, and you want to sort of be close to the doctor or something like that. All of these things come into consideration, which is why I think you'd be daft not to pick Univ, I think, because we tick all the boxes, to be honest. We're centrally located, very within a sort of 20 to 25 minute radius of everything that you need to be close to. We've got a lovely atmosphere. Our porters are the friendliest people on the planet. They're the people that sit at reception, and you can go to them about pretty much anything. It's just a great atmosphere, and that should be your most important thing, I think, is where you think you're going to thrive, where you're going to feel at home. And it can be hard to tell that with virtual open days, but absorb as much of this information that you're finding on the open day, and really sort of go on gut instinct, I think, on where you're getting a good feeling, because that's what I did, and I ended up very, very happy. So
yeah, so like Marina said, we have literally touched on everything. I'm going to do this in two parts. So first part is I'm going to say, no matter where you end up in Oxford, you will be happy. I am yet to meet a person who is not happy with the college they end up at, whether or not they applied to it, whether or not they got pulled to it, which is like I said, the redistribution process, whether or not they got an open offer, which is actually what I got, where like they found out their college on the day of results day in order to keep maintaining this redistribution process. But I did apply to Univ. So like, yeah, you will be happy wherever you go. But now why you should go to Univ, like Mamuna said, I don't see why you wouldn't. We are in a perfect location. We do a great brunch. We have really good sporting facilities available. We have like a mix of like really like old, beautiful like Oxford architecture, but also a more modern area with like like lovely facilities. But everywhere has like lovely facilities anyway. You can like choose to have like a shared study, or you can choose to have like an independent room. Like there are so many different options. The welfare team is absolutely excellent. Like they are there for everything. I don't feel like we've mentioned them actually. They are there for everything you need. You have reps who like will put on like welfare teas and stuff, but then you also have like a counseling service. We have a nurse, so like you are literally so well looked after. And just in general, like the people are so friendly. The tutors, at least my tutors, highly recommend. They know what they're doing. They're very good at what they're doing, which is kind of what you want from your education. The libraries, the like library staff are so kind. They will order you a book and buy it for you if you require it for your course. Like how insane is that? They'll literally be like, here you go, have the book that you need for your course. But mostly they already have them in there anyway. Also, I mean, I don't know what it's like in usual years, but our year they open at 10 a.m. and they close at midnight. And I think that's so important to have a break, because you could end up like spending a significant period of time in the library. And this literally forces you out and forces you to have a good night's sleep, and forces you to, you know, not like be entirely focused on your academics, because it's so important to have that like work-life balance. We have an amazing like range of societies. Our rowing club is amazing. Two of like our teams won like blades. I can't sell it to you enough. Like I said, this is the place where I feel at home. And if you find that at Oxford, I don't see why you wouldn't apply to go there, because like I said, my parents do get mad at me when I'm like, hi, I'm going home. No, you're not. Yes, I am. I really am going home. So yeah.
All right, and I guess I shall close up. I think Univ in general is just a really good balance of everything, at least I was looking for in an Oxford college. On the one hand, Univ does embrace some of its traditional stuff. So for example, we still have the gown formals. In a normal time, that'd be 3 times a week. Yet at the same time, I think Univ is still quite progressive. It's very friendly. This is definitely not a stuffy college with, it's definitely not pretentious. And also, I think in terms of just meeting the major logistical requirements, for example, almost always being able to guarantee accommodation for your full degree. Its location, we're very close to the Radcliffe Camera and pretty close to Magdalen Street Tesco, which are basically the 2 centres of the Oxford universe, at least if you're me. And just the vibe, I think is very good. The pricing of the hall as well, our hall operates pay-as-you-go system, which is, in my opinion, logistically quite a bit easier. So we don't have to worry about opting out on a certain day if we don't want to eat in hall. It just meets all the requirements, really. And it's a lovely college, and I'd highly encourage you to apply.
Thank you so much, guys. It was really great to hear about your experiences, and I hope that the people watching or asking questions, they found that really useful. So thank you so much again for joining, and yeah, thank you everybody for submitting your questions. If there's anything else you'd like to ask, we're going to have student helpers available on the typed Q&A up until 4 o'clock today, and again tomorrow. And there's also going to be another live stream at 2:30, I believe, with some of Univ's tutors, if you'd like to have an opportunity to ask the tutors, their perspective of Univ and things like the admissions process and things like that. So I think we're going to draw it to a close there. Thank you so much again, everybody, for taking part, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank
and
you.
Come to Univ.
Come to Univ.